Welcome into PrepAquatics.com. I am Skylar King. As always, you can email me, Skylar@PrepAquatics.com. You can follow me on Twitter, @SkylarPrep. Couple of big invites to recap. We'll talk a little bit about New Trier Hinsdale Central dual meet. We'll jump in with the Rosary Invitational that I was at. Still not full strength for Rosary. Unless there was a meet at the very beginning of the season they were at that I missed. I think Becky Rentz has been out for every single Saturday Invitational that Rosary has had, because I've been to most of them. And so now we play the waiting game in another week. A week from this Saturday, probably the single biggest invitational of the year. New Trier Relays will take place, and a lot of these top teams will all be together in one place, at which point I'll redo my season predictions and reevaluate things based on the results of the season thus far. At the Rosary meet, the good news was Elizabeth Naraki was back. She was on the medley with O'Connor, Nikula, and Olivia Moore, 147.2. LT 150.2 was second. So what this whole meet told me was it's pretty clear that Becky Rentz should not be on the medley. Will that cost Rosary a state title in the medley? Probably. However, their lack of depth in the freestyle is apparent. Having her not at this meet, and it was a definite struggle for their free relays relative to the way their medley performed. And specifically with the drop dead speed. They really need her on the 200 free relay. The 400 relay is competitive without her, but it could definitely be a contender to win with her. In the 200, Haley Volchek was pretty dominant here, 155.8. Top 6 last year. She's ultimately going to be top 8 in the 200 unless something crazy happens. She's probably not going to swim the 500 again, because she clearly had no interest in swimming it last year based on how she performed. She was definitely capable of better. And so she'll probably go the 100 free. She did not go the 100 free at this meet, but she's going to be in the mix for top 8 in the 100 free, and she should be a lock for top 8 in the 200 free based on her performance last year. And then Avery Miles, 157.8 for Rockton Hananega. Probably not a race we're going to see her in at the end of the year. It's probably going to be some combination of 50, 100 backstroke, but you go there you can't swim the same thing every weekend. I think that's totally boring. In one way, shape, or form, there's going to be a few invitationals that you go to that you're going to swim your best lineup, and maybe you even need to swim your best lineup to make sure that you win. And then you're going to go and have some fun and mix the lineup up depending on the versatility of your team. Obviously, Hananega knew they were not going to compete to win this, and so it really didn't matter what Avery Miles swam. In the IM, impressive swim from Bella Wojtowicz, 2:12.0. She beats Colleen Tracy and Elizabeth Naraki. Naraki obviously scored last year, and so it goes back, and we've talked about it, the strength this Beads team has and the ability that they should have to score multiple girls in several events, and the IM is definitely one of them. 12.5 for Colleen Tracy, 13.4 for Naraki. And again, with all the college visits, this is the first time I'd seen Naraki this year. We've definitely seen senior girls struggle before, and even have off-state meets at times because of the distraction of the college visits and whatnot. And so I'm not really alarmed by Naraki, not even being the best girl on her own team in the IM. I think it's just a great sign of this one for Wojtowicz. 50 free. This was one of the slower races, and it kind of goes back to a statewide thing. There's just not that many pure sprinters, and another reason why if you have one like Rentz, you need to put her on the 200 free relay. Libby Lanigan, 24.93. Lydia Nordgren, 25.25. And, LT ultimately wins this invitational. Obviously, Rentz not being there was a big factor in that, the primary factor, frankly. But they just continue to prove that they are a strong, deep team. And, could easily nickel and dime their way to being top 10 at the state meet. As with this top 16 scoring. The butterfly was one of the better races of the day. Nakula 57.99 wins it. Maya Arroyo 58.10. Lindsay Forbaugh 58.29. Maeve Collins 58.90. Again, Arroyo, not too concerned about her. She's been top 6 in the fly the last 2 years. And she should be an easy top 8. Nakula. The interesting thing for Rosary is, would they move Rents to the 100 free? Because they have Nakula, and they also have Lauren O'Connor, who can definitely score in the butterfly, and they really don't have the versatility to clearly go swim and score in another race the way Rents does. And, Olivia Moore is really the only clear scoring sprinter, sprint freestyler on that team that isn't Rents. And so the way the spots work out, it may be, especially, here's the thing. One, O'Connor's graduating, and two, maybe more importantly for Becky Rents, is that the 800-pound gorilla of the butterfly from Deerfield is also graduating this year in Annika Parkey. And so next year, Rents can move back to the fly and win it and end her career with a 100 butterfly state title. If she swims this year, she's gonna go a great time and still get second. And so that to me, it makes it less of a big deal to move her to the 100 free from the fly, because we've already seen this show the last 2 years. In the 100 free in this meet, Avery Miles 53.6, she wins it. Lanigan 54.1, 54.5 for Volchek, and 54.6 for Cavalieri. Again, in these races, the fly, the 100 free, we always seem to be talking about two swimmers from Lyons Township, illustrating their depth over and over again. 500, Lindsay Forbaugh, 5:15.31. Malika Pudicum from Niverville North, 5:16. These are both viable scoring times. Nobody else broke 20. But even people that don't break 20 could potentially be viable scorers if they're big droppers. Because, again, the 500 free, especially when you consider, like we discussed, Volchek probably not swimming the 500 this year. If on top of the fact that it was already one of the weakest years in recent memory last year, we're going to have people vacate the event that did score, it's really going to be thin. And I'd be really shocked at this point if Volchek swam the 5. And I don't know anyone else for sure that swam it last year that isn't going to. But I have had multiple coaches tell me that they're focusing girls on swimming the 500 because of its weakness. 200 relay, great race. Both the free relays were really nice races. 38.34 for LT, 38.43 for Rosary. Ella Jean Kelly, 23.81 on the end for LT. Similar to the type of stuff that I saw LT pull off in the West Chicago meet. They just don't have any weaknesses on their relays, and so if you have a weak leg and you're swimming against LT, they're going to expose that. And again, this is obviously a situation where if Rosary has Becky Rents on this relay, it's not close. LT doesn't have the opportunity to come back. Ella Jean Kelly 23.8 on the end to pull that off. Backstroke, Jillian McNamara 57.95 has been one of the better backstrokers in the state for the last couple of years. Annabelle Naraki 58.39, Lauren O'Connor 59.81. Breaststroke, Elizabeth Naraki knocks off the cobwebs to break her own meet record from last year, 104.66. But it was a relatively close race for at least 75 yards of it. 106.05 for her teammate Olivia Moore, 106.37 for Ella Jean Kelly, 108.65 for Tasha Mantell from Mapleville North. The breaststroke continues to look like one of, if not the strongest race in the state as we plow through this season. And then 400 relay, LT 334.28, Ignatius 337.42. Rosary was not really in the mix here, and that goes back to, if you put Becky Rentz on this relay, they probably win. That's how much better she is than whoever their fifth best girl is, and that's how you have to think about these things when you're predicting who's going to be on a relay and what impact it can have. It's not how much better are they than the fourth girl, it's really how much better are they than the fifth girl, because the fifth girl becomes the fourth girl when your superstar doesn't swim it. And again, I'm uber confident that Rosary is a lock top 8 medley, even without Becky Rentz. But without her, the free relays could be, it could be a coin flip. And when you're thinking about potentially winning a state title, you can't have a coin flip on your relays being in the big heat or the consolation heat. That's just a non-starter because the other teams, especially when you think about Stevenson and the depth they have, they're going to have 3 relays in the big heat. And so as a starting point, you're going to have to really make up a lot of points with individual swims if you don't have all 3 of your relays in the big heat. Speaking of Stevenson, Lake County, this was not a great Lake County meet. Stevenson was so much better than everyone else here. And they didn't even swim uber impressive. And we discussed the times they went basically against New Trier at that home tri meet a few weeks back. They went 46 in the medley. They only went 50 in the medley this past Saturday, but they still won by 3 seconds. No one else broke 53 that was there. Annika Parkey, 152 flat, wins the 200. There was a point in time where, especially coming after her sophomore year when she broke 2 state records, I thought she might try to move around and swim some other races. It's become clear over the years that she's going to swim the 200 in the fly every year at the state meet, which again, those are 2 great races for her, and she's proven to be unbeatable to this point. Sophia Tijanellis from Liberty 155.6, Annika Donovan, Stevenson 156.00, Arya Grossenbach, Stevenson 157.14. Again, all potential scorers with those times. In the IM, Shea Donovan 210.1 and Claire Wang 212.7. 1-2 for Stevenson, and these weren't even best times for them. So again, Stevenson, similar to Rosary, has got this depth where they could score 2 girls in several races. 24.3, Brooke Eliason from Highland Park wins the 50, freshman. So she's someone that, based on the relative lack of depth in the 50 in the state, should definitely score. Sophia Berger Stevenson 24.7, Vicky Berta Vernon Hills 24.9. But she was the only one, as I kind of went through here, that kind of wasn't a known quantity. The freshmen, the majority of the good ones seem to be on the better teams for the most part. Hinsdale's got a couple, Stevenson's got one, and so I don't think you're going to get a ton of little rogue swims, but Eliason definitely looks like she's probably going to be one. Lene Florin, 57.6, wins the fly by nearly 3 seconds. Tawana Turum from Lake Forest Academy, 59.55. Claire Wang Stevenson, 59.61. Amanda Chang Stevenson, 59.69. So 3 flyers all under a minute. 3 out of those 4 from Stevenson. Stevenson won this meet by over 100 points. Annika Parkey, 51.48. in the 100 free. Arya Grossenbach, 51.94, kept it surprisingly close. Shay Donovan, 54.15, Sophia Berger, 54.19. Again, 3 of your top 4 from Stevenson. And it gives you a lot of lineup flexibility in terms of what you're going to do with your relays. Are you going to have some of your top girls swim through relays because you have so much depth that you could potentially have your third person score? Those are the type of things they can consider. Annika Donovan, 509.60, wins the 500. No one else breaks 520 at the Lake County meet. Stevenson, 38.3. They win the 200 relay by 3 seconds. In the backstroke, Sophia Tijanellis, 58.11, easily wins the back. No one else broke a minute. Breaststroke, again, in all these big invites, the breaststroke is the deepest individual race. Brooke Eliason, we mentioned her in the 50, 105.4 in the breaststroke. Certainly, I mean, to me, the 105 is more impressive than the 50 free, 24.3. And because, I mean, we're probably going to have a 5 score, if not a couple 5s, with the expansion to top 16. Erica Ilkiu from Deerfield, 106.27. Daphne Kosak from Lake Forest Academy, 107.86. Heidi Swerkin, Stevenson, 108.11. Nellie Sandor, Stevenson, 108.45. And then Kate Modal, Stevenson, 109.88. 6 girls, all under 110, and again, half of them from Stevenson. 400 relay, which has been a great relay for Stevenson. Most of these teams we're talking about, their worst relay seems to be the sprint relay. 3:35.5. They won the 400 relay by almost 9 seconds, and so it was I would say a subdued performance from Stevenson, and it was really just because there was no competition for them. They really had no reason to get fired up to go any faster than they did, and so it's going to be really interesting in a couple weeks in neutral relays when it's really going to be the best against the best and see who can get fired up and put up a good performance. And then, I mean, we're getting really close at that point to conference meets, and your JV frosh soft level people might be a week or 2 away from taper once you hit October, because you start getting those conference meets late October, early November, depending on if you have that 1 week break between conference and sectionals. Wanted to touch on Hinsdale New Trier. New Trier just too deep in a dual meet. I think Hinsdale Central more competitive in a state meet scenario compared to a team like New Trier. 48.5 to 49.7 in the medley for New Trier. And we've seen both these schools go faster, but these weren't necessarily the top 4. Even though I think it might have been for New Trier, it definitely wasn't for Hinsdale. 200 free, and this was what was kind of interesting about this meet, is that it seemed like both these schools kind of took a race off, on and off. Hinsdale 1-2s the 200, 57-1 and 57-9 from Elizabeth Lehman and Via Barber. And then in the IM, Elise Newlands, 210.5, Burlington Bocas, 211.1. Bocas, was definitely nursing an injury at the beginning of the season, and so it'll be good to see her continue to round into form. And she'll obviously be in the mix still for a potential state title in the 500 free, and in the IM, I would definitely expect her to be right there for top 8. 50 free, Camille Zinnis, again, she's really come in and been Hinsdale's best sprinter after sitting out a year coming over from Hinsdale South, and they've really needed her, especially for the medley, to be that breaststroker, that 50 breast, because that's by far the weakest stroke on this Hinsdale roster, coming off a year where they had the state champion a year ago in Caroline Kramer. So 24.40 for Zennis Mabel O'Donnell from New Trier, 24.49. Lilia Barber, 24.86. In the fly, Zara Bolton, 58.8. I think she's a clear top 8 butterflyer this year. Her teammate Joyce Yoon, 002, and then Elizabeth Lehman, 101.1. Again, I think it'll be interesting to see if what Lehman's second race is. I think she's a lock to score in the 200 free based on the way she's performed, and then it's just a matter of what that second race is going to be for her. And again, you're gonna have some girls that you might not think of as being traditional double scorers. As we move into this new era, we're gonna all kind of have to rewrite our programming on that because of the extra 4 spots in every race. 100 free, Mabel O'Donnell, 53.2. Karina Miller, 53.4. Camille Zinnis, 53.6. Again, Karina Miller is one of, if not the, and I only say that because I don't know that I've seen all of them. Profiles is the best freshman in the state, and probably going to swim 100 free, 100 back outside of relays for Hinsdale Central. But it will be interesting, depending on what Hinsdale thinks their trophy chances are, based on their lineup. Will they try to load 3 relays in the way they have the last couple of years? If they think that's a way forward, and I mean that's going to be a big question. That's probably the most interesting statewide storyline of this first state meet with top 16 scoring is, do people still value relays in the same way? It's still worth double points, but are people more confident because of those extra spots that they can score more individuals, and that makes it worth pulling them off and weakening their relays? Because essentially it's kind of a wash if everybody does it, right? Because the relays that were going to score if they were loaded are probably still going to score when they pull their people off, because if everyone pulls their people off, the teams that have the depth are going to be able to get the job done still. 500 free, Bocas dominant, 5'11.8, Via Barber 5'19.7, and Via Barber's one of these swimmers kind of that I mentioned when we were talking about these other invitationals, where coaches are going to move them potentially into the distance. She was someone that I saw taper the 100 free at conference last year, and now she's clearly going to try to make a run at the 500. 200 relay, 138.6 for New Trier, 40.3 for Hinsdale, and again, this kind of goes back to that 200 relay. I really think that's the relay that it seems like teams are going to have to load to not have to sweat it out, because the supporting casts at these top schools just aren't 50 sprinters. Karina Miller, 57.7 in the back, easily takes that. Maren Shimkus and Olivia Music both went 59.54. The breaststroke, again, we have 3 108s or better, all from New Trier. Elise Newland 107.4, Maddie Orr 108 flat, Lily Moore 108.5. And again, it just kind of, New Trier actually had an exhibition 108.30. And that just goes to show you the number of breaststrokers. I mean, and this is a New Trier team. They graduated their top 2 breaststrokers that were both top 6 last year. And so the amount of depth they have there is pretty incredible. New Trier 333.64, Hinsdale 335.28. In the 400 relay, definitely the most impressive relay of the day at this meet. And this weekend, they're going to be button heads again. St. Charles North Invitational on Saturday is where I'm heading. New Trier will be there. Hinsdale will be there. we definitely have some schools taking the weekend off. I believe Stevenson is off this weekend. Rosary is off this weekend. And so it could be a little thin compared to this past weekend. But then things will pick up starting with Trev Relays a week from now. And we'll talk about that some in preview fashion next week. And again, then we'll be doing mid-season predictions. So that's kind of the schedule for these next couple of weeks. While doing a bit of a recap for Trev Relays, 2 weeks from now, that'll primarily be focused on the mid-season predictions. Next week, we'll recap the St. Charles meet and anything else that catches my eye. As always, you can email me, skyler@prepaquatics.com. You can follow me on Twitter @SkylerPrep. And we'll be back next week covering another big invitational here at prepaquatics.com.